Hi everyone, this is Samrat Kishor. I welcome you all to the Baseline Show in India. As every week, I wish you had a very productive week and welcome one more time to the Baseline Show in India. It's very intriguing how baseline community is shaping up in India, and the kind of interest that we're getting from multiple kinds of product and services companies. We have great chats every almost every day, almost every week. Me and Mark, we are brainstorming on things how we can come up with enablement material, and that's the kind of growth we're experiencing. So thank you once again, big time, for all the support to all the community members who are watching us and who will watch us in future via YouTube. Once again, this is phenomenal. The way baseline protocol is shaping up. Both in terms of developers getting on board, as well as the interest building up in the industry. Um, Actually, various industries, and please keep sending us your views. When keep sending us your feedback and comment, and what are the kind of companies we should be going after, because that's one key area which we were discussing in few days back in the outreach call. By the way, we have a dedicated group for outreach, which is very elegantly headed by Mark. And we brainstorm on ideas on how to increase adoption, how do we maximize our reach, so that people know more about baseline protocol and eventually come and become baseliners. So yeah, keep baselining wherever you are in the world. With that, I would also like to welcome today's guest speaker with us. As you know, we each week we invite one speaker from the industry, and we talk to them about what they are working on, and if they have experienced any data silos, any data deadlocks in their present or past projects, and how it could be beneficial to use blockchain or ZKPs in general. Zero knowledge proofs is something which needs adoption, which needs mainstream adoption, and we have been talking about that. So with that, let me call upon Aditya. Mark, you're welcome as always. Thank you so much once again for making this journey. So yeah, join me in welcoming Aditya. Aditya is a developer at heart. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's also worked as consultant for various startups in India. He even currently he comes with a lot of very strong product manager experience from a gaming company. So Aditya, that was brought up to us by one of our viewers last week, that they wanted to hear from somebody from play to earn gaming, and I said, I promised everybody that yeah, maybe I will bring you in. So thank you so much for taking time out and joining us today. Before we get on to you, and I know it's because we're going to roll with our conversation. I also teased our viewers last time with something which was very special to me. It was a graphic design for me for by one of our UBT Unibright community members. Unibright is one of Baseline's contributors, sponsors, and they have a very strong community of Unibright token holders, which are called UBTs. They've also launched their mainnet few days back, and it is ready for baselining. So 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 base ledger is the place to be. And what I really wanted to showcase was, so I will have to change the view a little, but I want to thank the person who designed this and who sent this to me as a gift. The person is, I just know the alias name is, he or she is called Altcoin Gamer, and they designed a beautiful graphic for me, which is on my t-shirt right now. I think I will have to get up a little to show where this is. So this is me doing the baseline India. Okay, I don't know if the graphic is not very clear. Okay, I'll post this as a picture. But this is very interesting. How somebody got, how somebody sent me the picture. So I got the picture first. And then when I met Jack Waring at Amsterdam-based event in Amsterdam, he presented me with this t-shirt. I said, okay, yeah, this is perfect material for my baseline shows. I'm going to wear it on one of the baseline shows. So thank you both of you, Jack Waring and an altcoin gamer. Okay, so now coming back to today's baseline show and Aditya. Aditya, I would like to bring you in. Let's start with your introduction, your background, what you did. Do you find baseline interesting? Would you baseline in future? And then, yeah, tell us more about what you're doing in your present role at the gaming company.
Right. So, hey folks, thank you for having me here. So, I've been a serial entrepreneur for the past about 8 years, and I started my career as a Android development intern, and I joined a company which was saying that okay, let's make something interesting and change the world, as so many startups do. But they were kind of onto something, and that little something was kind of surprising for me. So, day one, I go in and they show me 4 pages of JavaScript, and it was all just a blockchain that they had written out from scratch back in 2014, where there was not a single platform, so to speak. Ethereum was just taking over. You only
Yeah,
know about Bitcoin, and people were skeptical, like really skeptical back in the day. And then when I look at the code and I realize, okay, so I was supposed to be scared of getting into an infrastructure as an intern, but this seems quite readable. This seems easy. And
mhm.
then they put a censure by saying simply that, okay, so we don't have any costs for actually using this. It's all done by the community. Everybody handles the proof. Everybody ensures that everything on the system is validated.
Yeah,
And that blew my head off. I mean, seriously. Back as an intern, it was just amazing. And as we were discussing right before the show, they literally put a flashlight in my hand and like, okay, go look around, see what you like. And at that very same company, I grew in my roles. From an intern, I became the Android lead in a year. And that's when I realized, okay, so there are certain limitations to blockchain. There are certain limitations where we have to share a bit more than what we would actually want to as an enterprise,
yeah,
right? And then the concept of federated servers and everything was not even coming into the books yet. The banks had not talked about that. There was no hyperledger. So it was quite a problem back then. But coming back to it now, after all that time, and seeing all the things that community has done, it's pretty amazing. So I've been through a few startups over the time, and I've been looking at blockchain on and off. Been through, I think, all the circuits around Delhi NCR in India and online communities as well. But the work that we are doing right now, particularly the one where we have just need the proof. We need
mm,
do no work to actually get that proof. That seems really interesting, really amazing for me right now because the number of things that I can do with this, particularly in gaming and more than that in future of work, is something I'm really really interested into. So that's pretty amazing. The implications, the very implications of this is just astounding for me. So many opportunities to get at hand. Other than that, as for you mentioned that I was brought here on popular demand by one of your viewers, so I got to address that definitely. So
definitely.
currently, I am working as a product manager at a company which is well, we profess ourselves to be the new age modern gaming ecosystem for all gamers across the world, and we try to fulfill their needs. And what you can simply do is come on the platform, do some things, do some fun tasks, play some games, and earn enough to actually buy stuff that you really need. Related to gaming, obviously, we have a very focused market segment out there. But then again, to try and get you into trivia, to try and find whether you know Easter eggs, to try and know whether you actually have knowledge of the characters that you are playing or cosplaying, things like that. And that's what we are building. So we are just about to launch in a few weeks, and we are hoping for a pretty wide reception. So there's
Exciting.
that. Okay, I don't think I'm supposed to take names here, so I will skip on that for right now.
Yeah, you can take names as many as you want, but
Okay,
with a disclaimer that whatever you
definitely.
are presenting today is all your views and none of your employer's views. So I think that's the only disclaimer that I generally give when people are talking here. So, but yeah, you can go ahead use as many names as you want till the time you're not breaching your own contracts.
Yeah, I think I'll skip on that one for the time being. We will be taking the world very soon, anyways, so I'll be counting on that one.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, you can do as much chilling as you want. It's an open playground here. So awesome. So you told us about your gaming venture, and your work with the gaming venture. So what do you think are the data challenges? For a company like that, will a company like that even bother about data synchronization, multi-party? Are there scenarios where there are disparate systems which are not talking to each other, and there are either data synchronization issues or data reconciliation is required. Do you encounter stuff like that?
Oh, all the time actually.
Okay.
I was just hopping on this just before hopping on this call. I was actually handled one of those issues like that. So as we know, I saw a post a few days ago on Twitter, simply saying that 95% of all programming done today in companies and startups is about uh, dysfunctional API A talking to dysfunctional API B and trying to make sense of what's going on.
Okay.
Right, and I could not help but relate to that statement because there are no standards. Everybody is just trying to do something, and while they profess to be plug and play, and it's very easy to do, and we can do it 1, 2, 3, and just integrate and everything. The sheer amount of work that the developers have to do, and the time that they have to spend on chat support just to get a particular thing right,
Right.
it just gets tiring after a while. So I've been through about 30 different startups in the past 2.5 years, build their products as remote CTO, and the sheer number of times I've had to do things like this has been reeling from the whole effect. So kind of looking for a refresher out there. And then again, when we go to blockchain for this particular thing, yeah, I'm pretty excited about the things that we can do, because if we have something where we can just get the transactions done and get the proof of that, right, and it's consistent across the systems throughout the APIs that are available,
Hmm.
and you know how easy it is to integrate our Web 2.0 API to Web 3.0 API right now. Considering all of that, it's just amazing what we can do. And I just can't wait for all the partners that are working with us right now to
Okay.
actually adopt this model.
Okay.
So it's definitely going to ease my workload a whole lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure. And I wish that what you're building currently, I don't know much details about it, but yeah, our common friend, he tells me that you're building great stuff. So kudos to that, and all the best with the launch that is coming up. So why don't you double click on some of these data issues that you just spoke about? So if you're saying, yeah, all or some, or most of the APIs, if they need a lot of rework even while
Mhm.
there is API integration between two systems.
Yeah.
So is there a way you could quantify? I mean, have there been companies, and since you come from a very strong startup background, so do you see startups really struggling, losing steam, having to really abort projects and do
Yeah.
something else totally? So because of such issues, have you come across any of those situations?
Yeah, actually, we definitely had. So we were at once upon a time we were building a system where we were trying to connect the manufacturer to the seller, to the consumer, and to the resale and the warranty specification of it. So the entire chain, we were trying to do that, and we had a whole good thing going. But at the times when there were human elements there, and there were traditional ventures that we had to integrate to be a part of the whole system, and connecting those particular traditional systems were the challenges where why we had to stop doing what we were doing. And even today I feel the need for that particular thing, that there needs to be a connection between the consumer and the brand and get that data right from the horse's mouth. But because of the APIs that we had to build and the legacy APIs that they were carrying forward, the companies in the process, the organizations, it was just a mess. It was definitely not something I'd wish upon a lot of people.
Well, now there's base.
Yeah, definitely.
Mark, time for us.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Now,
mean, the use case is so apparent. I mean, I don't know why people are not adopting it sooner, but I wish they do. They do it very soon,
Excellent.
because the sheer number of times it so happens that okay, so even now there are APIs that we try to integrate and we are trying to be real time, and everybody say that they're real time, but that real time currently means a 2 hour delay.
Hmm.
So there are times when we are awaiting something from a post back from a particular endpoint, and the users are just left waiting for I don't know how long, and it's just arbitrary. There's no particular semblance. There are times when the data on the screen that they're seeing and the data that they are getting in the applications are not the same. So
hmm.
the sheer amount of inconsistencies, the data delays, even while calling them real time and consistent and integral and atomic and everything that, like every buzzword that you can put on top of it, they put it out there, but then again, there's something lacking,
Yeah.
and
Well,
that's really
and I would say that's even in a process environment to where everybody is willing and wanting to participate. What
yeah.
happens when you have a process environment to where it's like I have two friendly competitors that are friendly but do
Mhm.
not want to share anything. And they're
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna keep my data on my own system. And the other person's like, and I'm going to keep my data on my own system as well. And you've got the other participants in there going, are you two okay? Can you play nice? And they're like, well, sure, okay. And so baseline, takes all of that off the table. It's like
yeah,
you can share, through zero knowledge. And then as this process environment gets, larger and more, participatory,
Mhm.
it gets a little bit more, unwieldy. And so,
Yeah,
and then functionality is the first thing to go. So, yeah.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the first casualty. That and
But
developer
even,
experience, I would say.
but even some of the ripple effects, like in the process environment, if you start to look at the manufacturer of whatever device, when they're looking at a warranty situation, is
Mhm.
okay. What does our contract say if we have a warranty claim?
Yeah.
And so warranty is either going to be repair or replace. And so
Mhm.
if I replace it, do I just have the balance of the warranty? Have I replaced it with a new unit or a refurbished unit to manufacturer standards? And here it is. We're going to go ahead and do and replace your original unit. And it's like, okay, does the balance of your original warranty, you know, remain in effect, or since this is a different unit, does it reset?
Mhm.
And is it a limited? So, and plus you generally have third parties doing this repair or replace and stuff,
Yeah.
and so
Exactly.
and that's just on the warranty side.
Yeah.
So, and having that data, that is available to all the participants within the process environment, is
Exactly.
incredibly impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Mark, you're so knowledgeable on all the things that we do. Thank you so much for sharing that. And one thing particularly I have for Aditya. Aditya, you spoke about the challenges that you had with such a smile. Mark and I smiling is something because we're hearing it for the first time. But I can only try and imagine the frustration you would have gone through if while you were facing all those issues and you eventually had give up on the project. So do you want to go a little deeper on any of those specific problems, any specific technologies that got stuck? Um, where did it start and where did it end?
Okay. So first off, regarding the smiling part, right? So I had a very specific mantra when I was starting up. So actually, two of them. The first one that goes for me is fast is good, right is better. Right. So I try and be more of a perfectionist. That sort of delays a bit of my projects, but then
Hmm.
again, when I go out of the door, then I have a strong ground to stand on. So I always try and keep changing things until I'm actually satisfied. Doesn't quite work with the MVP model, but then again, you have to find something valuable.
Now apparently there's an MVP model.
Yeah. And the second part would be that every time I actually see something that's holding me back from getting to the point that where we want to be at,
Yeah.
it doesn't register as much as a problem, but more as something. Okay, so that's another service I can be building very very soon.
Oh yeah.
Right. So every time there's a problem, every time I'm let down by a particular small or big firm, every time there's a particular challenge, not originating from my team, but from something that's being used by multiple people out there, I
Right.
realize, okay, so there's a market demand, that's why it exists. But I'm also the perfect user for that because I want to use this. That puts me in a very unique position to actually work with that. And more than that, I actually worked with our mutual friend. So we were delivering workshops to startups in India and college students, and we were trying to tell them how to start a startup. And we were doing a bang of job with that in colleges. So in that regard, I actually had to teach this to a lot of people. So a lot of practice and seeing everything as an opportunity actually helps keep a smile on my face even now.
That's very
That
exciting.
works a lot.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
And
we can
in
learn,
regard,
we can
yeah.
learn a thing or two from you on being personally happy and balanced as well. That's awesome, actually. We have
I mean,
seen
not,
people lose
yeah.
sleep and look when they start up. So
I mean, I've lost a lot of hair handling those problems, but then again, I retain some. So I think I will learn to deal with some of it at least. at this point of time.
Okay, excellent.
Right.
And
Okay.
and
So
you
in
may
regards
say
to,
one of the technology issues that you are having. Yeah.
yeah. So one of the most important issues that we face often is when we have to get a particular set of data from one third party service and send part of it to another third party service,
Okay.
and at a place where there's a delay, or when there's unnecessary amount of data that's being transferred, and then we have to get a call back from the second third party service as well. So the whole transaction process takes a very long time because there's a particular delay in system. If they promise real time and they are real time, then still sort of manageable. I mean, the user can look at a loader screen for a second or two. But if
Hmm.
you push it beyond that, then this makes for a very bad user experience. So that's where we always get stuck when I have to talk to about third party and then share that data. So in particular, there were cases where we actually had to do something about education, and we had to get them certificates from a third party service that we are another microservice that they were using.
Okay.
So there was a primary service, and then there was a secondary microservice that they had put up just to generate certificates. And then there were people coming onto our platform and doing our courses. And it was just a fledgling platform. We had just got like 10 set of articles that you had to go through and get like a participation certificate of sorts. But even in that simple transaction where we had to just get data from a particular set of users, put it through first party API, get that verified, then send it to the second party API, and then get that data into a certificate and just push it back to the users. And
Hmm.
even in that particular very simple system, there were so many challenges just to get that data in real time, and there were even data inconsistencies at times. I mean, everybody was like, okay, so you can just send that data directly to us, and you don't have to verify that. So we tried that as well, and at times they just mixed up all that data. And there have been times when they have changed API keys on their end. So our system is working fine one day, and the next day, when we try and we wake up and we see that okay, so there are like 10 user complaints regarding that my name is wrong on my certificate.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take very a lot of effort to actually put the name right on a certificate for educational venture, but somehow there are people out there who say that okay, our interns messed it up, sorry, and we can't quite do it, and things like that keep happening. So we have to route it through our servers, add additional logistics time for that, and then actually get it back on our service. And even then, there were times when they would take about, let's say, 6 hours to get a certificate generated, and
Wow.
6 hours when saying that they are a real-time system, right? And at the
Okay.
time, we had no concept of NFTs. We had no way to actually say that okay, this is a very unique certificate. So there was a challenge right there where certificates that they said that are not forgeable, right? And they were forged, and there was no way that they could verify that back in the system. So the very simple system regarding that was that you could re-upload the certificate image that you had
Hmm.
and get it checked by the system, and they would verify whether it was generated by the system or not.
Oh,
But
okay.
they failed at that as well.
I'm sure there would be some engineer who would think of a solution saying, "Oh, you know what? We want to use computer vision to extract your name out of that certificate. And go back and use it."
Yeah,
Okay.
it's so easy to actually throw around a lot of words these days. I feel like a lot of what we have done in the last few decades is build the industry around a lot of buzzwords, and
Yeah.
everybody who can just confidently say those buzzwords are supposed to be like, okay, so these are the pundits. We have to listen to them, and that is, I think, a major pain point from upcoming developers. I
Yeah.
mean, I've worked with up to a team of about 280 developers on and off, and the experiences were pretty good handling them in house. But the moment we try to interact with other parties and then talk to their developers, the sheer number of times I have had requests from those parties to poach my developers, or their developers telling me that I can hire them as well. I
Hmm.
think the experiences are quite varied and across the world. Actually, it's not specific to a particular country even. There are people across the world who are trying to get a better job experience, trying to get out of the where there's a lot of buzzwords going around, and there's not much work being done at the point of time.
Right.
That keeps on happening. So in the end, we actually had to shut down that particular project that I was talking about. So it's defunct at this point. We'll try to revitalize it later on, maybe when we have a better system, and we want to rebuild the courses as well.
I
But
see.
at the same time, we also realized that okay, so we can do maybe a bit more, because that was also around helping startups, helping young college students actually get into a startup. There
Right.
was a lot of parents right now, even now, are not very appreciative of their children starting startup right out of college. I mean, and there are challenges definitely, but the parents around here in India, so they really want that there should be something in their hand that they can show. Okay, so I
Yeah,
have the knowledge to start a startup.
yeah, that's content for another show. But I totally agree with you that that challenge is everywhere. I'm a mentor on Startup India program. Okay,
Okay.
and the even profile is listed on the government website as a startup, and I get calls, I get emails from these guys. And when I get, they do some matchmaking, and
Hmm.
I get calls, and most of the times it's people telling me, "Sir, I really need to get this off the ground. Otherwise, my parents will get me married." And
I
I'm
mean, that's
like,
a real threat right here.
you know what, boss, that's none of my concern. I can advise you on the startup. I cannot advise you about your personal life. But yeah, that's true. That this where we are in the Indian ecosystem, it definitely is. It will take a long way to convince parents on on startups becoming a normal thing. Especially when people see failures around their family. Mark, you were saying
Yeah.
something?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I was going to say, definitely everybody, you come up with a great idea, and it's almost like you have to protect it because there may be, 10 or 15 people that are like, hey, I want to do that too. We call it a Me Too type product or a Me Too
Yeah.
type startup, which really doesn't help anyone because then the noise starts getting ratcheted up because everybody wants you to use their product, which is, almost the same as everyone else's. And so then it becomes, personal relationships. Who do you know, and whose parents might like each other, and whose father might sit on the same board of some other startup or something like that.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it becomes a lot more complicated. But one thing that you were talking about, being in gaming and stuff, I was just wondering if you've had any thoughts as far as gaming, which is really leading a big uh, effort within Web3, within the
Hmm.
metaverse. We're talking
Yeah.
about the metaverse, which I still want to see how that's all going to play out because it's almost like a virtual world, and to where users can interact and transact with others within a computer generated environment. And so I sit back and I think, this could be really interesting. But I wonder how it's going to actually shake out because part of me wants to say, okay, we have this virtual world and everybody's playing inside of it. Aren't you just basically a kid with an ant farm? And so, and at the same time, how does everybody interact with each other? And and what do you do? And how's it going to all play out? And gaming has really started a lot of that going on because I have two sons that are heavily into gaming, and they're
Hmm.
really into um, there's the whole concept of GameFi, the game finance, because within their gaming environments, the developers who were very smart, came up with these customized what they call skins. These are costumes and overlays that you can
Yeah.
put on your character when you go to different game environments. And then if you want to buy this really cool sword with magic powers and stuff like that, and they realize that there's an entire economic model predicated on that
Yeah.
because I have had to load several Xbox gift cards because my sons want to buy this new skin because their friends have it,
Yeah.
and are they want this new weapon that's going to help their character rise up several levels and stuff like that. And so and when you start to look at on the GameFi, that's fine, but you want to be able to link that to the character, and then eventually you want that character to be able to step outside of that one virtual world and into another one. So they have all of these really cool things that they have bought, that exist only within the Xbox environment or the
Hmm.
PS2 environment and stuff. And once you walk out of those, it basically just becomes you have to leave it in the virtual world. You can't take it into the physical world.
Yeah.
But you can take it to another virtual world, and that's what I think is really they're trying to put together. Is Sony doesn't want to give up any competitive intelligence or anything or graphics capability. Um, within PS4 any more than Microsoft wants to give up within Xbox. But they want to be able to have people bring their characters, into different game environments and stuff, and
Yeah.
be able to take what they want to. And if someone else says, "Hey, you've got this really cool sword, or you've got this really cool battle axe," you know, I want it, and then you can actually have the transaction and have it all
Yeah.
handled, within the stack. So, I mean, have you
Right.
been, are any of the people that you're working with starting to move into that whole Web3 aspect of gaming?
Yeah, actually, we are also looking at it, and but we are looking at it from a slightly different angle as well.
Hmm.
So first up, regarding the transactions, I mean, those are quite well set across the ecosystem, particularly with Steam trading cards and
Yep.
the whole ecosystem that started around Counter Strike back when.
Hmm.
Yep.
So there are still people who are buying skins and particular aspects and even sprays in the game, and they are going for a lot of value. There are people who are buying a lot of stuff in Fallout and Fallout 76. That's the one where there's a multiplayer aspect to it, right?
Yeah.
And that same thing is also being translated in terms of NFTs. So I think there was an announcement about a few months ago where a certain bigwigs in the gaming industry, they said that we'll be introducing NFTs. And then when you buy this particular skin by an NFT, you will be able to get it in the next installation as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's definitely going there. But at the same time, I have been an avid gamer. So just up till recently, I used to play at least 5 hours a day. So I used to work about 11 hours, game for about 5 hours, and then do everything else in the remaining time.
When do
So
you sleep? When do
yeah,
you sleep?
and, about 6 hours.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I used to do that for a very very long time, and that's how I was able to do go through all the startups that I did go through, just to get that kind of experience in the first place. But I also realized this one thing, that the sheer amount of time we spend in games and in those characters and the emotional investment that goes into them, right? They
Yeah.
have a very random effect on the users. So there are times when massive media houses have fallen in their newest installation because they could not port a character from their previous installation into a new installation. And there are
Mm.
times when by the same gaming giant that there's a whole different franchise, a whole different world, and then there's a new protagonist in every new system, and they have whole different systems, but they have certain things carrying over from the previous games.
Yep.
So you have to acquire them again. You don't have with them pre-acquired, but the models are the same. The backstory is added with the context of the previous game. So
Hmm.
there are different levels of richness to the particular aspect, so that everything is context specific because of that. Now, the bigger challenges that we face is regarding the particular models and the data portability and the balance. So let's say there's a particular weapon that's being used nowadays for, let's say, game one, and game one plus two is trying to get that portability there through an NFT. But when that same weapon goes to game 1.2, then
Hmm.
there's going to be an issue for balancing that. And once you start tinkering with that balance, then the NFT is no longer authentic. Or is it? I mean, you have the license for it, you have the receipt for getting that NFT. It might be a new model in the entire game, but is it authentic for the user? That context remains to be seen. So that's something that needs to be experimented on a lot to actually put the context right there with it. Although it's very easy to actually add the context in terms of the lore that gamers nowadays are actually taking an interest in. So that might be an interesting angle. But we are also coming at it from a whole different angle. So what we want out of the gaming ecosystem, what I particularly want is that gaming is, yes, an entertainment tool for the lot of people right now.
Right.
A lot of people find emotional stability to particular games. So the kind of games that I actually like to play, they are also used by a lot of people to deal with decision making inabilities that they have in their normal life, to deal with social interactions, to deal with how a romance pledges and how it culminates, right? So those are the parts of the games that people are actually getting into nowadays, particularly in RPG games and AAA titles and the sort. So I'm into that, but at the same time, I also want to ensure that if I'm spending, let's say, 5 hours a day every day into a game,
Hmm.
then I'm getting something out of it. I mean, I've been my friends mock me by saying I'm trying just a businessman trying to do business everywhere, but I actually hold true to that value. So I really want that to ensure that okay, so I have put some time and effort into this. I've built up my character, making particular choices, and I
Right.
want that to actually give me something back, even if it's something that on a particular set of action that the game would want
Right.
to for me to perform every day. So there are a lot of microtransactions in a lot of AAA games nowadays. They reward
Hmm.
particular kinds of behaviors. And I'm
Hmm.
really interested in the fact that maybe what we can do is we can translate that to real world money or real
Okay.
world value in terms of even if something that helps me operate through other games. So what I would get is a currency that I can use in that gaming ecosystem throughout the ecosystem. Let's say 20 games integrated in that,
Hmm.
and I can use that very currency to actually go and earn from one game that I spend a lot of time on, and then when the next
Yeah.
season comes in, then I can use that currency to get a boost or something, right?
Yes.
Or then just randomly that okay, so I need to buy let's say a gaming mouse, and there's an
Hmm.
ecosystem out there where I can convert the money amount that time I've spent and the action that I've done into real world tokens and actually get a discount on the mouse, or even let's say have enough tokens to actually buy it through the platform itself, supported by
Right.
the in-game currency, right? So that's something that we are actually working on right now. That's something that there are multiple levels to it actually, but
Yeah.
there's a way that we are trying to get that around, and it will be just amazing if we can actually get it to the point that want to get it to. So
Hmm.
I'm definitely into that angle as well. So we want an entire ecosystem going from what you earn in the game, what you put into it, but also what you
Right.
get take it out from it.
That's very
So we
exciting.
want, yeah. So we actually want people to be able to ensure that the children, when they're playing the games, they're not
Hmm.
scolded for playing games for a long time because they're actually getting something in return. And that's
Okay.
something I feel on a personal level as well. So
Yeah.
kind of biased on that,
Yeah.
but
I was
I definitely want that.
Yeah, I was interviewing a candidate few days back, and this guy was barely out of college. He was like, it was his first job, and he
Mhm.
was barely. I mean, he had not even had a proper internship, because of the lockdowns, etc. Whatever he did was remote and everything. And I said, okay, yeah, what do you do in your free time? And that was the time it started blowing up my mind. He made $35,000 in 3 months selling game assets. And I was like, okay, can you teach me how to do
Yeah.
that?
Well,
So,
and
Yeah, I
especially
mean,
when some game producers are basically coming out, especially when you start to create the limited edition type game artifacts, whether it's limited edition skins or the
yeah,
limited edition artifacts, that sort of stuff. And that was the big thing to where they at least are starting to come realize the importance of having a standard that you can move it
yeah,
with between different games to where if you create a stack of artifacts within World of Warcraft, and you move to Fortnite. You want to be able to have the Fortnite gaming environment be able to accept and interpret whatever it is you bring from World of Warcraft.
hmm,
It gets a little more tricky when you start to move cross-platform, where you have PS4 versus Nintendo or Xbox, the
interesting.
dedicated gaming. But I wonder if a lot of these are starting to move virtually, just because computing power has gotten to the point to where it is by human perceptible terms.
Hmm, hmm,
Definitely sufficient to handle this multi-party gaming environment.
yeah.
right.
So,
And I have a question to you, Amit. Oh, sorry, Aditya, on the um, so imagine the sneaker industry, for example, or imagine
Mhm.
art. I'm not even going to ugly art NFTs, but I'm still saying ugly
Mhm.
art NFTs are the things making
Yeah.
money. Okay, so there's ugly art NFTs, there's sneaker industry, there's also the vintage car industry, for example.
Mhm.
So all of these things have limited supply. They have unique design. There are certain unique things to all of these. Now, can we draw a parallel in the gaming world where you could say, yeah, there's the need for a lot of lineage data. Where is this asset coming from? Does it
Yep.
really exist with the guy who's trying to sell it to me, or is he going to buy it from somebody else and sell it to me? So whenever there's P2P trade, peer-to-peer
Mhm.
exchange of anything, is there a need for proving some things?
Yeah. Often there is, but depends on what the particular person who's accepting the trade actually wanting to do with that. So
Okay.
there are a lot of people, a lot of kids out there who just want to, get a power up,
Hmm.
and people who are just looking for a particular power up, they don't quite care about where it's coming from all the time, right? For them, it's just an easy way to cheese through the particular aspect of the game. But
Right.
there are times when people try to collect them, and when they are collecting them, when they are trying to make a collection and they are trying to, well, show it to their friends or have it for their own self of sake of
Hmm.
pride. So
Hmm.
in those times, actually, a lot of lineage is pretty important. I mean, there's a particular saying in a lot of the gems industry as well, that gems by themselves, if they are too perfect, then there's an issue, right? So the most authentic gems have a certain set of flaws, and that make them more beautiful. At the same time, the gems with the most value in the market are not the ones which are the most beautiful or the biggest, but they're the
Yeah.
ones with the richest background story,
Yeah.
and the whole excitement of the story itself adds to the value of the particular gem. And it's like a very played out concept in a lot of TV shows and streaming service and everywhere as well. So I think a lot of people can relate to that. So that kind of thing also happens with games. So there are a lot of games where people can craft something very custom.
Hmm.
And when you craft something very custom, then you can add your name to it as well. But when you're going through a P2P system, there can be a receipt associated with it, where you can actually see that where this is coming from, what's this story, where was it used, right? And the people who have possession of that particular aspect, they can add metadata to it
Hmm.
and ensure that it continues. And
Hmm.
that is a particular application of the base of the NFT structure that I'm actually very, very interested into, because the added context makes me really, really interested in this particular part, that I like the games which work around that. I
Okay.
enjoy that experience. I
Okay.
like to read through the lore. I like to get into the story and the depth of, and why is it doing that particular thing. And
Exciting.
if we can actually go around changing states of those particular items that we are trying to create, and
Hmm.
adds more to it. Let's say somebody use it for a particular aspect, and then there's a change, a mutation in that
Hmm.
item that becomes part of the authentic story. So that's something I'm actually looking forward, that somebody please build a game that I can actually experience this in. And because if you don't, then I will.
Awesome,
Right.
awesome. I think Aditya, I would like to invite you to the baseline community, wholeheartedly. So explore what can be done. We also have developed one of our own games uh, called Battleship. It's, of course, we did not come up with the concept. It's an age-old concept. We just
Yeah.
built a game to demonstrate zero knowledge proofs.
Hmm.
Our team of very able code developers, they got together and they brainstorm on this thing that, yeah, this could be used to explain the concepts of zero knowledge proofs, and eventually baseline as well. So yeah, I mean, if there is definitely a use case where you see, yeah, there is proof to travel, and the story of the asset should also travel with it
Yeah.
amongst, between various gaming ecosystems, between various metaverses now. So
Yeah.
if they should travel, then yeah, there could be proofs which could be traveling along with it, and baselining could be used. I'm just saying could be used. I
I
personally have
mean,
done a lot of research on gaming and baselining myself, but I would like to invite you to, like, explore this. And we
yes.
have, yeah, we have a very we have a weekly cadence now
Mhm.
within our research team. So there's a dedicated team of people who's just doing research on new use cases, and then there is Mark's team, which is the outreach team. So we sort of try and get together all the research and what are the kind of use cases, what are the kind of industries can go to, and then talk to the leading players in those industries, and sort of help them, get on board with the baseline bus. That's what we call it. So Ditya, that is, so we are nearing the end of the show today. Thank you so much. I mean, I could just go on talking to you. With You've got so many things to offer us in terms of your technology knowledge as well as knowledge of the industry, be it gaming or others. Thank you very much for sharing that example that you shared, especially with, the data getting messed up with third party API. I think that's something which a lot of people, that pain is something which a lot of people must be going through. uh, but I was talking to somebody today, and somebody asked me that question. It was a very formal meeting going on. Like, somebody asked me
Mhm.
that question, what are your pain points with this X software? They were
Mhm.
about that particular software. And I said,
Yeah.
yeah, pain points. Okay, let me think. Yeah, I think every interaction point is a pain point right now. And while I was saying that, while I was coming up with that, my colleague sitting next to me said, you know what? The pain has gone beyond the beyond the extent of being felt anymore. So we are very numb towards that pain now. So we just don't want to get rid of this software ASAP. So
As stated quickly.
yeah. So yeah, there is something called as death by bad software. I think that's what is what is happening in this. So okay, so any parting thoughts that you have, Aditya, for the baseline community, and where they should find you, and if you would be interested, then which segment of baseline would you contribute to?
Right. So, particularly, I recently actually discovered Baseline through a recent interaction, and the way I went through the documentation and everything. Now,
Hmm.
it just seems to solve some of the very, very early problems that I had actually. So, I
Super.
mean, that whole thing is very, very exciting to me. I mean, I really can't wait to actually get to a point where I can get hands on with your software and actually see how it works and see how
Super.
it deals with a lot of pain points. Particularly the things that we have discussed today, I was trying to keep track of things that we are talking about, and I can see an application pretty much in all of them. So
Excellent.
I feel that's something that's really, really amazing for me to actually explore and look forward to definitely. Apart from that, particularly the gaming aspect that you mentioned, that's something that I definitely want to contribute in as well. And you can find me pretty much everywhere. LinkedIn is somewhere I am, but I'm not very active. I try to be on stealth, so you can just reach out to me on my own website, which is adityam.dev, and just hit me on WhatsApp.
Okay.
Okay, so that's where you can generally find me. But other than that, I'm available on pretty much every platform that you use. So you can just look me up. I have the consistent same picture across all platforms because I take very few good pictures. So you can find me very, very easily on across all the platforms. So Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere.
Awesome.
And mostly, if you go to local meetups or Google or Microsoft meetups, then you might even find me just going around and talking the head of people at a lot of places. So
Awesome.
that's pretty
Awesome.
much my jam.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking time for today. Mark, any parting words from your side?
No, just basically keep baseline and keep thinking about ways that people that don't want to, people that want to play together but don't want to, get in bed together, you
Yeah,
know, can actually do so under an environment where everybody is private. So keep thinking
yeah.
about it. I mean, it came out from gaming, it came from healthcare, it came from supply chain.
Yeah.
I mean, trucking, logistics,
Yeah.
anything.
Awesome, awesome. So this is the end of today's show. Thank you everybody who tuned in and who is watching us in future. Do check out our website, which is protocol.org. You will also get links to all our channels to get connected with us. Join the Slack channel. Ask questions as much as you want. You will get all the support. We have now got a dedicated team just working on ramping people onto baseline. So we have enough enablement material to get on board, get started with baselining. We have reference implementations you can pick up. There is tons of documentations now that you can go through. So do keep baselining. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me, guys. Nice talking to you.